So thanks everybody for coming. Today I'm going to present the work that is done on the Chinese social media red note after the very short period of ban of TikTok at the beginning of 2025. So the ban of TikTok is not a one-day thing. It has spanned ever since the first Trump administration. So December 2019, the U.S. Army and Navy actually banned TikTok on government devices. And then 2020, right before Trump stepped down, they announced considering banning TikTok after all. And that policy is actually carried out by the Biden administration in December 2022, when Biden signed the administrative order to ban TikTok on all federal government devices. In March 2024, the act would ban the operation related to the act completely, unless the Biden has made a qualified divestiture, basically selling the TikTok to a U.S. company, otherwise will be banned. And this actually goes on as a legal dispute, and also the CEO of TikTok testified before the Congress. And it all boils down to January 18, 2025, where TikTok actually made service temporarily unavailable in the United States. So this actually creates a very specific case. Existing studies of government censorship, especially on China, usually puts emphasis on what happens when people escape from the censored environment to a freer media environment space. That escape could be triggered by multiple different things. It could be an exogenous shock, such as a sudden ban of entertainment social media, or just during COVID-19, people are actually breaking out the Great Fire Warning or just more health-related information. Or that escape could be in transit, like externally motivated by economic gains. There are studies where provide people with VPN and monetary reward if they go past the Great Fire War and seek information. But what happened here is the reverse. So it's not people from the censored environment go out to a freer environment and seek free information. It's more like the free information themselves automatically come into the censored media environment so people can access those information. So it's the reverse direction of what's happened. Then the question becomes, how does online political discussion evolve under government censorship when users from free countries suddenly enter the platform at scale? The reason is because when you get out of the censored environment and interact with this free information, you're just safe. But when this free information come into the censored environment and interact with them, there is a risk, since you are still under the government surveillance. So there are two stages. The first stage is initial engagement. So when the information first come in, people will react initially through curiosity as well as interest because they are seeing some new information. If we think that the government censorship is being understood as putting taxation on the information, then when information comes in, the initial engagement is actually when you see a lower tax rate because it's easier to access those information. So at agenda setting level, these initial engagement of low commitment should encourage people to engage with those information more, and especially the political information, because the non-political information are relatively free and accessible both across the board. But political information are heavily censored, so it's more heavily taxed. So when there is a downturn, then probably political information will have more engagement. Yes.
Sorry, I'm feeling dense. Who are the people who are entering this social media environment and when did that happen?
So entering the Chinese social media are US TikTok users. And that happened starting from December 2024 and peaked in January 18, 2025 when TikTok suspended service in the United States and continued after that.
But US users already had access to TikTok, right?
Yes, but they migrated to the Chinese red note social media because they think TikTok will be banned. So there is a large migration of US social media users, especially young users, that is flooding into a Chinese social media during that period.
Right.
And that's what the information flow actually happening. So what happened later on is after the initial engagement, there will be a deepened conversation. And as the conversation goes, in a censored media environment, clearly the political risks go up. Because when you attract enough attention, we know that the government will censor the political content that it has the collective action potential or attract a lot of audience. So as the conversation goes on, citizens' reactions will be shaped more by other factors other than the curiosity created by the initial shock of the media environment. So one important feature of Chinese people reacting to such repression is what is documented by Kevin O'Brien, saying that Chinese citizens neither withdraw nor resistance. So it's somewhere in between. It's not that people completely refrain from talking about things, and it's not people completely defy the government and just talk freely. So I named this process as adaptive conversation, is because people are actually transforming political information into more non-sensitive daily discussions to preserve that discussion without actually triggering the censorship. So it's still discussing, but not explicit. So this gives three different hypotheses. First one is citizens are more likely to engage with political than non-political content at the gender level setting level because of the curiosity. And second is, on average, political discussion will become narrower as the conversation gets deep, and with many being redirected into everyday forms of discussion. That's the adaptive part. And finally, the third hypothesis is among those political topics survived into long-term discussion, actually those less sensitive political topics are more likely to survive in explicit terms. So it is a complementary hypothesis too of what can be survived in that discussion. Yes.
So this is again more a context because I wasn't following this drama. So two things. One, what has been the US's problem? Is it just that TikTok servers are all in China? Is that like their fundamental problem for wanting to ban TikTok? And two, what I don't understand is why US users like TikTok so much that in the scenario that they thought that this was going to get banned, they all moved to another Chinese social media app. So I'm trying to understand who is drawn even to TikTok such that they absolutely wanted a replacement that also came from the same part of the world.
So the ban on TikTok is mainly a government action, thinking that the TikTok information that is stored in Singapore actually has a backdoor that opens to the Chinese Communist Party. So the government think it's a security risk and say you can't access those information, so they won't ban it.
Yeah.
And the reason why, especially young voters, migrated from TikTok to RedNote is because these two social media has very similar forms of engagement. So you can post a short video or you can post just a moment and then get interacted from other people. Although there's and another thing is because the RedNote can be registered using the US phone number, which the Chinese version of TikTok though it cannot do it. So there won't be a perfect substitute, but there could be a substitute that is accessible to the US users. Similarly, the WeChat can be registered with the US phone number, but the problem is WeChat is more like an instant messaging app, so it doesn't get the same type of interaction people want on TikTok. So RedNote is kind of the best substitute you can find. So the data is original data set of about 538,000 posts, first level replies, and secondary comments that is collected between December 27, 2024 to January 29th, 2025. This included ban days, which is January 17th, 2025. So we use 800 newly registered RedNote accounts using pseudo US phone numbers and 4,000 different proxy IP addresses to scrape all these data. So we will change the account and IP address frequently to make sure that there is no systematic algorithm impact in terms of where you're accessing the data and what account you're using. So these newly accounts do not have any browsing history, so it should be least impacted, but we still change it frequently to make sure that it's even less. And most of the active window of the discussion is between January 13th and January 29th. Virtually almost every first level comments and second level replies will be falling into this period. So there could be some posts that is post earlier, but they didn't get any engagement until there's a large influx. Yes.
So we're just, sorry if you haven't. So this is, you're scraping the public facing site, not an API access, right?
No, not API access.
Right.
It's scraping the public
Yeah.
accessible. And also there's one concern about actual censorship. But what happens is when there is a large influx, in January 21st, RedNote actually published a advertisement. They want to hire employees who can do the censorship work and understand English. So that basically means before January 21st, there's very, very limited ability for RedNote to actually censor the English content because nobody understands it, and they don't have an algorithm that is developed with English keywords. So this is why we stopped 29th, because they do have that team of censorship people ready around January 27th, and 48 hours probably is enough for Chinese people to develop a clear list of what needs to be banned. So there is a concern, but public accessible data, I would argue, is not as heavily as if it's a Chinese social media you would think about. The method is a two-stage large language model assisted corpus classification. So in the first stage, a locally deployed plan, which is a Chinese-based model, is used to classify the entire corpus on three different dimensions: topic, directionality, and emotional stance. So the topic are further divided into political and non-political. The political topics would be policy, institution, economic viewpoints, inflation, political figures, and gender equality. Non-political ones would be daily life, entertainment, food, culture, pets, sexuality, LGBTQ, and others. So here, sexuality is basically means the good appearing of the people, and then triggers some response that they want to have sex with that guy. And LGBTQ is under the same category. So that's why they are not political in this context, even though they could be political in other contexts. An emotional stance is agreement, whether the comments is agree with the previous level post, or other criticism is whether it is US-based account is criticizing China, or China-based account is criticizing United States. And self-criticism would be Chinese-based account criticizing China, and US-based account criticizing the United States. Rumor refutation is basically when an account say, no, what you said here is wrong, and I want to tell you what's the truth. And neutral and meaningless are just the other category that is left over. And directionality, unidirectional would be the comment only include one country. Bidirectional would be comment and mentions both China and United States, and multi-directional would be mentions of at least one-third country other than China and United States, and including China and United States. And in the second stage, we use the closed source API-based GPT 5.4 and to code the corpus in terms of triples. So the triples would include the source theme, which is a node or a concept, and then the relation type, which is how the first term impacts the second term, and the second term would be the target theme, and it is a node or concept too. So I provided three different examples. So for example, first one is TikTok ban causes platform migration. So the triple, the source theme would be TikTok ban, and the relation type would be causes, which is causal, and the target theme would be platform migration. And the actual post that it is referring to is the ban forced us to move to RedNote. So the reason why this needs to be constructed differently from the first level is the data collection is based on the keyword of TikTok, TikTok refugee, and everything. So if we code the first level TikTok ban, which is a political event, as political, that would put virtually everything of the first level post into political category. which is not the case. Because we say the ban forces us to move to red node, it's actually a daily life discussion and decision. So it does talk about the implication of a political event, but the post itself is not political. That's why there should be a two level coding and separate. So the distribution of the topics based on the first level coding, as we can see, everything on the right side of the dashed line are daily life things, and everything on the left hand side would be the political topics. And it's very, very clear that on every single level, political content are just very little. That's acceptable because TikTok is for entertainment use, and you migrate to another platform, you would just continue what you were doing previously. So it's not surprising that the number of political topics are actually less. However, actually political topics will involve a disproportionately large engagement. So it's not across all political topics. For example, the political figures, although it's called political figures, personals, it's usually just Trump. And those posts would receive significantly less likes and comments. But when it comes to discussion institutions, how institutions set up in the United States, or how institution of the United States, the political system, and gender equality issues, both in the United States and in China, there will be a disproportionately less. So this is based on the logistic regression. And we can see that the gender equality and institution are actually bounced up. But there's a question. So is it possible that these posts are actually posted by Chinese people instead of the US accounts? So we interact this with the US IP address. So we also scrape the IP address of the comment post. And we can see that it actually increases the categories of political topics that interest people. So when a policy issue is posted by US people, it creates more likes. Similarly, economic views and gender equality still stay there. Institution becomes not significant in terms of likes, but it does significant in terms of comments. And political figures, just people are not interested. My explanation would be Chinese people already know too much about Trump, so they just don't want to see anymore. It actually reflects the taxation part is because the Trump information is not taxed. Government just report whatever Trump does. They don't have to manipulate anything. So there is no information added. But when it comes to institution policy and gender equality, these are more heavily censored topics in China. So there's more utility in terms of engaging stuff. And then this is the transition matrices. So this would be calculated through multinomial transition, is how much likely one topic is going to translate into the second topic across levels. So L0 to L1 means to post to the first level comment, and L1 to L2 means the first level comment to the second level comments. And the four quadrants, the upper left would be political to political, upper right would be political to non-political, lower left would be non-political to political, and lower right would be non-political to political, non-political. As we can see, almost everything is on the right-hand side. So this is catered to the idea that both political and non-political discussion will quickly dissolve into non-political daily categories. We can replicate this with the GPT labels. So remember, the GPT labels actually give more political categories than the first level category classification because of TikTok ban thing. But we can see that at L0 post level, about 23% of the posts that are translated from political to non-political. And the transition rate is kind of stable through L1 and L2 from 7.8% to 11.4%. And most of them would be non-political to non-political. So it dominates the first level comments as well as the posts. And the next question would be, if these political topics are dissolved into non-political topics, what are the routes? So how are people actually transforming these political topics into non-political topics? And this figure actually shows the bridging concept when there is a political topic translated into a non-political topic. As we can see, the top three would be TikTok refugees, the platform migration, basically the event itself, and interestingly is American identity. So when talking about identity politics, people translate into non-political topics through that route. And most of these edges are causal. So the relation type, the tuple, the relation type could be a verb that is causal or non-causal. So as we can see that there are like maybe 50% of the platform migration is causal and a little bit less for TikTok refugees and American identity, but still a significant share. So it's not people are just juxtaposing two associated concepts and in the between they say the migration or identity. It's actually they're saying the identity or migration is causing a non-political thing. And finally is hypothesis 3, which is survival rate. So we classify the political topics that is labeled by GPT further into sensitive and non-sensitive. So non-sensitive category include healthcare, housing cost, cost of living, and taxation. So basically political economy topics or policy topics. And sensitive would be TikTok ban itself, the US politics, domestic politics, the women's rights, and historical claims. So the historical claims is sensitive in China in the sense that Chinese government maintain a very significant control of the historical narrative, especially interpretation after 1900. It's because that it's very important part of the source of legitimacy for the Chinese Communist Party. So a different historical narrative or interpretation is actually sensitive. As we can see that the political economy survive 82% of the time, while the sensitive ones are just 45% of the times. The odds ratio is larger than 6, and it's statistically significant. So hypothesis 3 is basically supported, is when a political topic survive from the post to first comment and then to the second level comment, it's more likely to be non-sensitive ones. The sensitive ones are actually translated into more daily life discussions. So that will be all. It's a very early stage project. I just read the first draft. Welcome any source of feedback and questions. Thank you.